Hey there, welcome to my latest harebrained scheme. I'm going to try and make my own exhaust system. Wouldn't have occurred to me if Boss Hog 8 on Ferrari chat didn't talk about making his and discussed his techniques and everything. So here's the whole exhaust. Where I live, you don't have to do emissions testing if you drive less than 5,000 miles a year, so I'm going to try taking the cats off as well as the muffler and just replace the whole thing, mainly because the stock muffler is pretty darn quiet. I'm hoping to get a little bit more of a raspy sound out of it. We'll see. I got lots of stuff from Summit Racing, 2 pieces of pipe to play with, a bunch of elbows, a Dynamax Ultraflow X muffler. Looked at a bunch of different mufflers, and this seems to be probably the only one that'll really work because the channels go from here down to there and from up there down to there, so you can hook it up like the stock muffler with inlets up at the top and outlets at the bottom without screwing anything up. All the other mufflers that had the same shape and outlets weren't going to cross flow like that. You know, it was supposed to be 2 inlets in and 2 exhausts out. So trying to put 2 up and 2 out, I think, was going to cause huge problems and probably not be good for the engine or anything else. Now, since I'm taking my cats off, I have to put my O2 sensors back on. So I do have a couple of O2 sensor bungs, 18 millimeter. That's part number 34153. And to hook up with the headers, if you look at the end of the cat, there's a flange there, and that's actually called a ball flange, it turns out. And here's my ball flange. That's part number 41725. It does work, although you do have to file down the bolt hole to make it a little closer to the pipe. So you gotta bring your bolt holes in closer to the pipe to get it to fit. But the flange itself on this part number works perfectly and looks like it fits fine. So that'll attach to the end of the headers. I'll use hopefully a section of pipe to get up to the top of the muffler, and then out the bottom I have some tailpipes. Now, the only problem with these things is they're a lot longer than I expected them to be, and in fact when they came in the package they were out to there. I cut them back, and we'll see how this fits. It may or may not work. Okay, first things first, the original muffler has a bracket to bolt it up to the subframe. So using some just plate steel from Home Depot, I've made my own homemade bracket here. I just made a paper template of that one, traced it onto here, and cut it out with a cutting wheel on my angle grinder. Just used a drill to drill the holes and then lengthened them with the cutting wheel on the angle grinder. So now I'll be welding to the new muffler, which is here, and based on that we'll try and figure out how it all fits together. Okay, what I decided to do with my brackets is, since I'm new to welding, I didn't want to just weld the brackets straight to the muffler and risk damaging the muffler, so I actually cut a curved piece of steel that'll match the radius of the muffler, and I welded the bracket onto that, and now I'm just going to do like 1 or 2 spot welds and then fit it in the car and just see how it fits. But then I figured I would just do a couple spot welds to weld it onto the muffler rather than try and run a continuous bead around the bracket and risk messing up the muffler. Okay, so I tacked this one on with 3 little quickie tack welds. And now I'm ready to put the second one on, but I don't want to have a wonky muffler, so I've got it on my table and I made sure the muffler was level, and then I put my bracket on, laid the level on there and made sure that was level, so, and marked it, so now when it goes on the muffler should be level. Okay, after some quickie tack welds, I hung it on the car to make sure that it was level and to see what the clearances are, and then I'm going to put the back bumper on for a test fit. But the brackets seem to work fine. No problem so far. Okay, and then I put the back bumper back on just for a test fit to make sure that there's adequate space between the muffler, the back bumper, and the pumpkin. Okay, next is, because of clearance issues, I need to shorten the pipes coming out of the muffler. So I've cheated, and don't do this at home, but I have a miter saw that I just put a metal cutting abrasion disc in, and I'm going to use that to cut it so I get a nice clean 90-degree cut, which will make it a lot easier to attach the other parts to, rather than a ragged edge to try and weld with. Okay, now that I've got my ends trimmed off and deburred, I got an elbow here, and obviously if we stick it on the side here, it's going to be way too long that way. So what I did was stuff it up inside about as far as it'll go, and mark that line. Now what I'm going to do is just cut it, leaving like an inch or so to go in, and then I can just weld that on there when I get the angle correct coming off the header. Okay, so after trimming one end off that goes in the muffler, I've chewed this one up to get as cute an angle as I can because of clearance issues. I just have a chunk of spare pipe that when I put it in and bend it a little this way, it actually gives a pretty good seal all the way around that I should be able to weld okay. So now I have that, and I'm just going to chuck it in the muffler here. And for clearance reasons, the pipe actually has to go a little bit towards the engine once it gets in there. So, but I can adjust that with this going in here. I can play with the ingoing angle. I put my other piece of pipe in where it will fit. And point the whole thing towards the end of the header, and that looks about right for the angle. And now I'm going to have to play with the ball flange coming off the header. There's going to be a little angle to rise up to the muffler here. Okay, I've trimmed my pipe at I think it was a 25-degree angle here, and I think I've got the right length so that when I plug it in the top fitting, that the angle here matches up with this pretty damn perfectly. So I think I can just weld that together, and then I'll have a direct pipe welded to the other fitting, and that'll be that side done.